Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ramya. I work in the Ravindranath Center for Eye Care, and my talk here is the medical management in the acute phase, the first response. I have no financial disclosures. So you can have two spectrum of injuries present to you. You can have a wide range of first presentations, a very severe one to a mild one, but your goals of treatment will remain the same. You want faster epithelialization, you want to prevent a melt, you want to manage the intraocular pressure, and you want to control the inflammation. So I'm going to start with step one, as Dr. Devyani had mentioned. You want to start with irrigation even before you start with history taking. So you want to use what is readily available. You have a wide range of choices. You have normal saline, you have balanced salt solution, oral, buffered solutions, polyvalent amphoteric solutions like Previn. Amphoteric solutions, I want to mention a word about them. They are better. They are universally used in Europe because they neutralize the pH much faster, because they are hyperosmolar. They draw the water out of the corneal tissues and melt the debris quicker. And it has been proved through various studies there that if you use an amphoteric solution like Previn, you have lesser stromal inflammation and chances of ulceration. And to give you a perspective, you probably need 17 times the water to neutralize the pH that you do with an amphoteric solution. Tap water, because of its hypoosmolar nature, can cause corneal edema because of the hypertonicity. But as I said, the most important thing is to use what's available. So you don't want to delay the treatment looking for a better solution. Use lots, which means that you check pH every 15 minutes. If you don't have a pH strip, you will anyway continue irrigation for 30 minutes, and you're going to check for debris and remove the debris. Do not wait for a better solution. Anything goes. As a first response, even tap water goes. It doesn't matter if it is non-sterile or hypoosmolar or causes corneal edema. Using a solution earlier and more solution to neutralize the pH faster has shown better results than using a better solution. The difficulties with irrigation is going to be that children are going to be very uncooperative. So irrigate and then take them up for examination under general anesthesia. Most of these patients are going to be in severe pain, so they're going to have blepharospasm. Go ahead and use a topical anesthetic before you start the wash. Make sure that you have patients' face turns outwards, and start the wash nasally to the lateral side with the kidney tray held near the lateral side so you don't injure the other eye. Make sure you get the fornices, evert, double evert, and give a continuous flow. Ask the patient to look in all the directions. All of this will help you get every particle out. A Morgan lens is a lens that sort of looks like a Prose lens attached to an IV tubing, which allows continuous irrigation, but it doesn't get out the particles. So for lack of availability, choose what is available. The next step would be the assessment. So the history would come after the irrigation. At this point, you're going to put the patient on the slit lamp, assess the defect, the ischemia, the debris, measure whatever is possible, take photographs, draw diagrams. You would try to identify the offending agent. Children would need an exam under GA, like if you have a very severe case that needs surgery and you're not equipped for it, refer earlier than later. And severe blepharospasm will prevent you from doing the examination as required. But don't forget to look under the fornices, to look in each quadrant for any signs of ischemia or debris. A lot of this can be missed if you don't look for them. So the first and most important part of a medical management would be topical steroids. Prednisolone acetate or betamethasone can be used 4 times to hourly depending on the defect size. Use even if you have an epithelial defect. Use especially when you have an epithelial defect. You have a very narrow window to make this work. After 10 to 14 days, steroids can inhibit epithelialization and collagen synthesis. You can't stop them sometimes, but you may want to switch to a gestational steroid, or you may want to decrease the dose. So the first week is when it helps decrease the inflammation and aid in epithelialization. If you're scared of supranuclear infection, you can use a BCL if it's just a corneal defect. You can use adjuvant antibiotics, but do not wait for the epithelial defect to heal before starting steroids, because steroids reduce the inflammation, which is critical for the injury. And this is the most important medication in the acute phase. If paradoxically, instead of getting a raised IOP, which you would expect in the face of this kind of inflammation and trabeculitis, you actually get a hypotony, then expect the ciliary epithelium to have been involved, and you may want to start systemic steroids at this point. The eternal debate between acids and alkalis, I completely agree with my colleague. While we know alkali injuries are worse, the force and severity of the original injury plays a big role in assessing how severe the damage is. In terms of alkali injury, the commonest patient that we're going to have is a child. And any child, no matter how simple the injury looks and no matter how well you've thought you've examined, they're going to be uncooperative. And the rule of the thumb is you take them for an exam under general anesthesia, because most of them present to us with Lyme injuries, and these Chuna injuries are quite dangerous because every Lyme debris that's left behind is continuously secreting the chemical and destroying the eye as we speak. So you want to take them up for an examination with general anesthesia as soon as possible and get every bit of the debris out. You're going to have to evert, you're going to have to double evert, use a cotton bud, use a forceps, use whatever you need to get out the debris. Because if you have a large epithelial defect with a calcium plaque that's difficult to remove and you put an amniotic membrane on top of it, it's not going to do you any good because the chemical is constantly secreting on that, and no amount of amniotic membrane is going to help. If you find it difficult to remove, you can use an EDTA solution to chelate the chemical, but make sure that you get every last bit out. This is a very crucial first step. Even though it would technically come under surgical management, I thought I should mention it here. So the next group of drugs I want to talk about is the tetracyclines. We normally like to use doxycycline 100 milligrams ODRPT. They restrict the gene expression of neutrophil collagenase and epithelial gelatinase, which suppresses the alpha-1 antitrypsin degradation, and thereby reducing the ocular surface inflammation by inhibiting the matrix metalloproteases. This matrix metalloproteases degrade type 1 collagen, so you basically use it to stop the collagenolisis. We've only proved this in animal models, but a lot of the drugs that we use for chemical injury today are proved only in animal models for sheer lack of human studies. So it's cheap, it's safe, so we go ahead and use it. Avoid use in children and pregnant women. The next drug I want to talk about is ascorbate and citrate. We proved that in animal models, again, decreased levels of ascorbate were found in the aqueous humor, which led to decreased collagen synthesis. So we believe that ascorbate helps repair of tissue and reduces the ulceration and perforation rates. It's a 10% topical ascorbate that you can give every 2 hours. A topical citrate also has an additive effect, but the truth is there are difficulties here. These drugs need to be compounded. They are hard to find and they are quite expensive. So considering that the benefits are only in experimental models, normally people prefer to give an oral vitamin C 1 gram twice daily. It's an easier alternative. Just make sure you check your patient for any renal malfunctions because vitamin C is excreted by the kidneys. A very important step here is to manage the intraocular pressure. You will probably have to rely on finger tension to check the intraocular pressure, but you need to monitor it quite carefully and start anti-glaucoma medications, both topical and systemic as needed. If there is hypotony, consider adding oral steroids. The inflammation is bound to cause raised IOP, so keep looking for it. Talking about supportive care, if you have only a corneal epithelial defect, it may help the patient if you use a bandage contact lens. We'd like to give antibiotics to prevent secondary infection. If there is no bandage contact lens, I prefer antibiotic ointment. Artificial tears, preferably preservative-free, also help with faster reepithelialization. And many of these patients, especially with a slightly more severe injury, prefer cycloplegics to help alleviate the pain. And we, of course, have the biologics that are greatly touted these days because of the growth factors in them, platelet-rich plasma, umbilical cord serum, 20% autologous serum. They do help with fast epithelialization because of all the growth factors present, which is also the thought process behind placing an amnion on the eye. But the fact is these are not easily available. They also need compounding and they need a cold chain for their maintenance, which because they are protein-based and they can get infected easily. So it's on the patient to maintain them. So they're quite hard. At least I don't use them. So I want to present a flow chart to summarize what I've said so far. So if you have a patient present to the emergency with a chemical burn, your first step is to start the irrigation with balanced salt solution or normal saline or whatever you have. And after 15 minutes to 30 minutes, you want to check the pH and see if it's reverted back to something close to 7. If it has, then you can put the patient on the slit lamp, take his history, document everything, the defect, the ischemia, use diagrams, measure the clock hours, mark the location. If it has not reverted back to normal, you're going to check for debris, look under the fornices and remove everything and go back to step 1, which is continue the irrigation until the pH turns to normal. Suppose you have no ischemia with a very small or no defect, just punctate staining. You're going to put the patient on a 4 times daily topical prednisolone acetate with artificial tears and antibiotic eye ointment and review the patient. On the other hand, if you have a large defect with not much ischemia, you're going to start on topical prednisolone hourly. We know that it helps. Vitamin C 1 gram twice daily, a bandage contact lens if it's only a corneal defect, and a tab doxycycline 100 milligrams. If the pressure is high, you're going to put the patient on anti-glaucoma medications, antibiotic eye ointment, cycloplegic, and pain relief as needed. If you have large ischemic areas with a total defect or a very large conjunctival and corneal defect, or lid issues where you have an incomplete blink or exposure, you will do the medical management along with immediate surgery, and I will leave the surgical part to Dr. Bhaskar. If the person who's presented to you is a child, you will obviously avoid doxycycline. And the first step would be to take the patient for an exam under general anesthesia. So this is a sort of an algorithm that I could make out. These are my references. I would also like to thank my colleagues, Dr. Devyani and Dr. Mahesh, for very kindly lending me the video and a couple of pictures. Thank you.